How many of you have ever let that happen to you? You get to the place where, man, I got so much stress going on in my life that it's just causing me to fade back and fade back and fade back, and I'm just waiting for the next failure. Because when I fail, I get up and I can go do something else. And then I get stressed out again, and it pushes me back and pushes me back and pushes me back. You know something? There are some people who get to the place that failure is only a point of bringing them to flourishing. That's all it is. Stress can do this too. Frustration and stress can bring you to the place where you can flourish. And there are two types of stress. There's destructive stress and productive stress. Some of you saw that on the website. Destructive stress and productive stress. Destructive stress is something that you can do nothing about. You know, there's some things in life that no matter how much I don't like it, no matter how much I'm not into it, there's nothing I can do about it. There are literally some things in life that I can't do anything about. I can't do anything about somebody else's will. I can pray all I want to, but they're going to be the way that they are. And there's nothing that I can do about it. It's a fact of life. It's not a problem. It's a fact of life. A problem is something I can do something about. Anything else is a fact of life. If it's a problem, then you can fix it. If it's a problem, it's productive stress. And you can produce something by fixing that problem. And by the way, you might be the answer to somebody else's problem. But not only that, here's the other, as I was talking about, here's the other, that there is destructive stress. If it's something that there's nothing you can do about it, if there's something that there's nothing I can do about it, then don't worry about it. It's a fact of life. Go on. It is what it is. So here we go. Let me say this. That's the life outlook. But I believe most stress comes from problems that we can do something about. There's something we can do something about. It might be really hard. I don't know about you guys, but I got some things, some problems that I face that are really hard. They're big issues. I don't know how in the world it's going to work out, quite honestly, but that means I'm in God territory. I mean, really. Yeah, you know something? I don't have a whole lot, but that means I got unlimited resources because now I have to trust in God. Because I don't have enough money, I don't have enough talent, I don't have enough smarts to get myself out of it, so I got to trust in God. And that means that I have limitless resources. I've had people tell me that you're going to plant a church in Aurora, you're out of your mind, man. You don't have enough money to do that. You don't have enough this, you don't have enough that. You know what? That means I have unlimited resources because I got God. That puts me in God territory. That puts me in miracle territory. That means I have to have God show up. So really my job is real simple. It's right here. It puts me in the position I got to get on my knees and I got to seek the face of God and I got to believe Him to show up and come do the impossible. I don't know about you guys, but there are some things that are problems and God can show up, step in, and do something about. That's what takes place. That's where we've got to get to. When we see stress as something that thrusts us forward. Did you know that the Greek word for problem actually means that which thrusts you forward? The Greeks had the right perspective on problems. That which thrusts you forward. We need to get to the place where we see problems as something which thrusts us forward. Every person on the face of the earth faces problems. Every person on the face of the earth faces emotional things that are going to come up. Every person on the face of the earth faces frustration. Every person on the face of the earth faces stress. Every single person. But if you choose to flourish, then you get to the place that you're in the right perspective. And Philip was in the right perspective. That's where he was. He was in the right state of mind. He said, okay, I'm getting kicked out of my hometown, I'm getting kicked out of my house, I'm getting kicked out of everything that I've got, but I'm going to get the right perspective about this. I'm going to go about preaching the good news because I understand that the culture around me can change when I get to the place that I can preach the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And where did he end up? He ended up in Samaria. He ended up in Samaria. Now Samaria, what's the deal with Samaria? Listen, in 722 BC, long time before Philip's around, because Philip's in the time after Christ had already come. Okay? So, but back in 722 BC, the Assyrians came in to the northern kingdom of Israel, whose capital city was Samaria. And they took a bunch of the best of them and took them off to Midian. And the ones who were still there became a mixed race of Assyrians and Samaritans. And they became what was known as the Samaritans. And at this point, Jews and Samaritans did not want to mix. So it was the one place that a Jew did not want to end up. But can I tell you something about Philip? Philip was waiting tables before any of this happened. He became a powerful world changer when he got thrust into a different environment. Do you realize that that's what God can do in us? We get thrust into problems. We get thrust into things that would break everybody else down. When you turn on the Lord, turn to the Lord Jesus Christ, He can bring a breakthrough in your life. He can bring you to the place that you can make it through anything, baby. I promise you that nothing can stand in your way when we come to the place that we literally look to the Lord Jesus Christ. I've been praying over this message for 2 months. 2 months ago we wrote this down. 2 months ago this was put out. And I believe that it's affecting somebody's life right now in a positive way. I believe God's speaking something to you right now in a positive way. That He's bringing this about and that He has this to say to you. Because Philip ended up in Samaria. Do you know what Samaria is like? Samaria is like the hood's hood. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with what the hood is a lower class, lower income area of town. It is a place where people do not have a whole lot. That's the hood. Now, I don't know if you were aware of this, but the hood actually has a hood. There's actually places that people who live in the hood don't want to go. Samaria was like the hood's hood. That was like the place that nobody wanted to go. But yet that's where he ended up. That's what took place. And Philip transformed his surroundings. People started getting saved, giving their lives to Jesus Christ, living for God with all of their heart, with all of their might. Everything changed as a result of Philip coming into that region. And why? Because he had been kicked out of the last region that he was in. And he allowed God to use him anyway. Can I tell you something? Sometimes things are going to seem harsh in your life. Sometimes things are going to come into your life that are going to bring you so much stress that it's got you flat out pulling your hair out. That literally you look and you're like, man, I got hair in my hand. I'm pulling my hair so hard that I'm so frustrated over this. But do you realize that God can bring a breakthrough even in those situations? That God can use those situations just to show what He can do? That He can bring His power, He can bring His blessing, He can bring you to the place that you can be a champion to all of those who are around you. That's the gospel message. It's not just for somebody to get you to come to the altar and pray a prayer one time. The gospel message is to bring you to the place, to bring me to the place, to bring us to the place that we can live a life of breakthrough in the midst of hard situations, in the midst of life beating on us, in the midst of life throwing its worst at us. That's what takes place. That's what goes on when we get into the gospel message. That's the Samaria of it. The stress, there's Samaria, and then finally there's the spiritual setting. Because it also says here that demons were cast out, for unclean spirits, crying out with a loud voice, came out of many who had them. In other words, there were people who, they may not have even believed in demons. They may not have even realized what they had, but all of a sudden, Philip walks up, and they've been going, all I know is my life's been falling apart for the last 6 years. Everything's been torn up. Everything's been a problem. And then all of a sudden, this guy shows up, and there's something inside of me screaming and yelling and bucking and kicking, but it ends up flying out of me. There's demonic forces that are broken. Now, I'm going to tell you what. There are some people that demons can't mess with because God's got His hand on them. But demons will surely try. They'll surely try to mess with things around you. You know, Philip couldn't even have things around him mess with. Demons crying out of people, probably trying to put him down, probably trying to run him out of that town as well. But the power of God was on his life in that region. There are what's known as territorial spirits. Let me go here for just a minute. There are what's known as territorial spirits. In other words, they work that into the block. That's where they work. That's their place. Where I'm from, back in Florida, it's a different type of territorial spirit than what's here in Aurora.